I feel like if I say this right now, I'm sure like everybody on the internet will make a video on it, like because it was insane.
Now, going back to the competition history, you prepared for the next one. We'll get into the cycle later.
Yeah.
How did that go for you? And then my second question is this. So I watched your most recent video on your channel, and you were talking about
Mhm.
how you have, and we talked about this privately also, you're
Yep.
very health conscious now. And
Yeah.
on your video, you said that you're planning not to take competition so seriously in the upcoming future because
Yeah.
of your constraints on your health. So
Yep.
how did that competition go? And when did you start thinking about the health ramifications and stuff like that?
Yeah. So first competition went great. I mean, I didn't have any issue at all. I did that competition. I gained 30 pounds after the show because I was negligent. I didn't understand how to reverse diet. I didn't get good advice. I went to an all-inclusive vacation, gained 30 pounds. I did win the overall. I got the national qualification. So in men's physique. So it was great. I was happy. And then I decided, okay, well, I mean, I'm pretty good at this. So maybe I can go pro. Let me try to go pro. So that's when I hopped on testosterone pretty much, maybe 2 months after that show. My hormones before I hopped on testosterone were probably just like crazy because I just cold turkey like that. And so whatever, I felt I was in a really bad limbo stage. I was bloated like a buffalo. I was like, weaker and bloated and just felt horrible. Hopped on test and, I've been on test ever since, like different doses, of course, but basically, yeah, so that's kind of what happened right after the show is I decided, okay, I want to take this really seriously. I loved the first show. And I said, you know what, I'm going to compete in another show. Right. And so before I even get into, because the health stuff and becoming more health conscious, that happened after the second show, which is
Yeah.
probably 18 months, year and a half after the first one. So I did, I took tests. I really grew a lot. Then I did the show that I actually ended up winning my class and going pro in. And I went pro in, so I went pro in men's physique. And, during that time, and I never specifically said the levels where my liver enzymes were anywhere. And I feel like if I say this right now, I'm sure like everybody on the internet will make a video on it, like, because it was insane. Now my enzymes are like 30 over, 40, something like, it's very normal, even, in the normal range. But when I first started to think about my health, as a young guy, you don't think about it. My liver enzymes. So I went to just get blood work so I could go to this new HRT clinic. They needed my blood work. It was, it doesn't matter what it looks like. We're going to, whatever. So I get the blood work and the lady calls me. She's like, sir, you know what's going on with your liver, right? And I'm like, no, I don't know. And she tells me, she goes, yeah, well, your AST is 1900 and your ALT is 980.
Oh, you were in liver failure. Oh, wow.
No.
Almost
So
liver
this
failure.
is, so the craziest thing ever, right? It's like, I had zero symptoms, zero jaundice. I had no pain. I was working out, everything normal, no
Was your
appetite.
GGT also elevated? Do you remember? So usually what will happen is
I know that my kidneys were not elevated at all. So I don't know what it was.
interesting.
I don't know.
So
I
by the
don't
way,
know what it was.
if you have like a really intense workout and develop like almost rhabdo, your kidneys will show it too, but your ALT and AST will elevate a lot. By the way, people sometimes take this supplement, which is people love it, but it's actually like an insidious thing called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha frequently puts people in liver failures, and they frequently have like 1,500 ALT, AST from just taking ashwagandha a few times. So sometimes your liver can respond very in shock to what happens and develop this kind of extreme, which goes close to liver failure. But
it's interesting.
Those are really, really high values. I wonder if it wasn't something else going on other than just liver inflammation. Did you get a scan of your liver after?
I did. So they basically, because at that point they're like, okay, well, we need to see what's going on. So I completely came off the orals I was on, of course. And I was willing to cut the prep at that point because I was like, this is serious. And I went in, they scanned my liver and they were like, well, yeah, your liver looks like perfect. The bile's perfect, everything, the normal size. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't look like anything's wrong. So let's just wait 4 weeks, get it retested. I retested it. and it dropped by half. And then I retested it again, it dropped by half. And then I retested it again, and it was normal after my show, maybe 4 weeks post show.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So that means that it was not just muscle wasting, and that mean the thing is though, if they did a fMRI of the by the way, the ultrasound of the liver is not as clear.
They did do an ultrasound, and that's when they concluded that it was.
Yeah, so the ultrasound is not very accurate. There's something called the fMRI, which is quite a bit more accurate. What they would be looking for is either that you have what you were talking about, the bile ducts, cholestasis, or that you have a fatty liver, which usually precedes when people get inflammation. So, but you might not have a fatty liver, or what's called steatosis, which is the actual inflammation. The other stage is cirrhosis, which is scar tissue after. Yeah. But to be honest with you, I've never actually heard of anyone that had those high liver values on orals. It's extremely rare. People will take like Anadrol daily for years, and they will get to liver values of around 200, 300. And those are the guys that get liver cancers later. But they don't get that much of an elevation. So I really wonder what was going on. It's really mysterious.
It's super mysterious because like it's at the point where like my liver enzymes currently are legitimately like, I think my AST is like under 40 and my ALT is under 40. They're both in the 30s. So it's like, I mean, they're not even elevated and I have no symptoms or anything. You know what I mean? Like
a couple of notes though, just off the top of my head, and we'll get into the cycles a little bit more later. But I remember, for example, in that your I think maybe it was your second cycle, but maybe it was the first. You were dosing, for example, Anavar and Winstrol multiple times a day. So
twice a day.
Oh, just twice? Okay, so twice is what the medical professional, like if you actually have medications and they have to give it to you once a day, if you have a few, medical professional standard guide will be do it twice a day, not 3 times because the liver starts to not be able to recover. But potentially also that's one thing is maybe you are not taking enough days off, which is one of the reasons I like to, if I ever use orals or my clients do, to take them not daily so that the liver has a lot of time to recover between them. But I don't really know what else could, but I understand how that must have been such a scary thing. You know what happened to me, Dylan? When I used to experiment with hormones and stuff, the scariest thing that happened to me, other than the sleep apnea, which is insane, but the scariest thing that happened to me was when I would experiment with high dose growth hormone. I never did it for a long time, just for like a few weeks at a time. I'd get like, I could feel I'd get out of breath and I could feel it was difficult to breathe fully. You see this in bodybuilders sometimes when they're being interviewed, you see their chest moving a lot and they're really taking deep breaths. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I said, there's no way this is good. Something's wrong with this. Later, I realized this is myocardial edema. It means you have water in your heart. So I understand how scary that stuff can be, and especially when you don't know that much about health. So you don't know what could be going wrong. So how did you react to this when it happened to you? What did you do?
So initially, the doctor was like, okay, well, your liver looks good through the ultrasound. The enzymes drop, so you can continue the prep. Just don't use any orals. So I was just on 400 tests and 400 Masteron just to get through the prep. And I did that. And then essentially, I mean, my levels pretty much dropped to 60 over or 70 over 60, right? So that's not great, but it was good. And then they came down like all the way down, maybe 8 weeks post. I just continued to test it because I have a clinic that I use in Colorado. So it dropped all the way down. I mean, and now it's just 100% normal. I have no symptom. You know what I mean? At this point, I mean, it's definitely not a scare at this point. I mean, because the enzymes are totally normal. But that was the first time I got really freaked out because I said, whoa, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize with steroids is that everybody's body can react differently. And there are a lot more, situations that come up than people really think happen with steroids. I mean, I think you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, let's add a caveat here just to prove or just to emphasize your point. My channel has 2 people with liver cancer right now from steroids. I interviewed one of them, but he wanted me to take the video down later because it's personal, stuff like that. But it happens. They just don't talk about it because how difficult it is to come out and say, hey, I took steroids and I killed myself. Nobody wants to say that, you know? It's humiliating. So people don't hear about it as much.